So here's a question nobody wants to answer. What are you actually building toward? Not maintaining, not protecting, but building. Because here's what I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed it too. Somewhere in our 50s, a lot of us shift from offense to defense. We stop building and we start protecting our position, our income, our routine, our comfort. And protection mode, man, it's a slow fade. So let me ask it again. What are you building toward? If the answer is not clear, or if the answer is I don't know, you're not alone. I've been there. Hell, I'm still figuring it out. Welcome to Graybeard Radio. I'm Matt Hempel, and this is where wisdom meets impact and income, and fakery is reviled. In episode 1, we talked about the convergence, demographics, technology, and your crystallized intelligence lining up right now. Today, I want to talk to you about the 3 things that actually seem to matter in this phase of our lives: health, purpose, and connection. Not because I've got it all figured out, but because I've been wrestling with some of this stuff and I've found some things that actually work. So here's what we're doing today. I'm going to walk through each of these areas, these 3 areas, and what the research says and what I've tried and what's working and what doesn't seem to work. No guru stuff, no prescriptions, just one guy sharing with you what he's learned so far. And maybe something I've figured out will help you figure out your own path. Because here's the thing I've realized. These 3 areas, health and longevity, purpose and meaningful contribution, and connection, they're not separate. They're all connected. When you work on one, you're actually working on all 3. Health without purpose, that's just maintenance. Purpose without connection, that's isolation. Connection without health, it doesn't last. But when you get all 3 working together, that's when this phase of life starts to feel like something worth showing up for. All right, let's dig in. Okay, so health and longevity. I'm going to start with something that surprised me when I first came across it, and that is engagement is medicine. Not just exercise, not just diet, engagement. And here's what I mean. There's this study, the Whitehall II study, I think it was called, that tracked over 10,000 people for decades. And they found that people with a strong sense of purpose had a 30% lower risk of death over the study period. 30%. That's not a supplement, and that's not a workout program. That's real purpose. And then there's the research on cognitive reserve. Basically, our brain's ability to compensate for age-related changes. The more you use your brain, teaching, problem solving, learning new things, the more reserve you build. And that reserve protects you from dementia, Alzheimer's, and cognitive decline. The Rush Memory and Aging Project found that people with a high sense of purpose were 2.5 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's, 2.5 times. So when I came across this stuff, it hit me. Staying engaged isn't just about feeling good. It's about literally keeping me alive and sharp. Teaching, mentoring, working on things that matter. It's not just contribution, it's brain protection. All right, so what does this actually look like day to day? So I'm not going to give you a prescription. I'm just going to tell you what's worked for me so far, or a few things that have worked for me so far. So number 1 is sleep. This is foundational. Everything falls apart if my sleep is broken. I've learned really the hard way that I need to be consistent. Same bedtime, same wake time, 7 days a week. No, I'll catch up on the weekend. That doesn't work, at least not for me. If I get less than 7 hours, I'm operating impaired, kind of brain fog and just not feeling myself. I can feel it, irritable, everything's harder. So here's what I do. I pick my sleep window and I protect it. 7 to 8 hours, bed to wake, non-negotiable. And if that means saying no to late meetings or turning off the TV earlier, I say no. My brain is really more, and my health for that matter, is more important than another episode of whatever I happen to be binge watching that evening. And look, I'm not perfect at this. And there are nights that I stay up too late because I'm working on something or I fall down an internet rabbit hole or some other thing. And, to be honest with you, in my current job, my current employment, I'm in a situation where sometimes I get called out late in the evening or actually early in the morning to go fly a pop-up trip. Usually it's a medical situation where we're taking a medical team to go harvest a kidney or a heart. And, some donor is unfortunately having to give that up, but some recipient is actually going to be blessed with a new lease on life from that organ, whatever that happens to be. But I'll tell you, as grateful as I am for the opportunity to be able to provide that kind of service and to be of that kind of service, uh, I'm a wreck for 2 days afterwards. I walk around in a fog. Just the sleep schedule is just completely off, and it takes me 2 days to recover, literally 2 days. So that's my personal story, and one of the few times that I end up having to relinquish or give up sleep and get out of the sleep cycle and the circadian rhythm that I'm used to. So, and as I said, I'm not perfect at this. There are nights when I stay up too late because I'm working on something or I fall down an internet rabbit hole. But most nights I really try to protect the sleep window, and it makes a difference. So the second thing is movement. So I don't train like an athlete. I just try to move like a human. Daily walk, and I'd say I can get out 4 or 5 times a week. So daily might be a little bit of an overstatement, but 20 to 30 minutes. I like to go 45 minutes on a brisk walk. It doesn't have to be fast, just consistent. And resistance training twice a week. Doesn't have to be heavy, just enough to maintain some muscle mass and some bone density. And here's why this matters. Sarcopenia, muscle loss, starts in your 30s and accelerates after 50. If you're not using it, you're losing it. And muscle isn't just about strength. It's really metabolic in our bodies. It regulates blood sugar. It protects our joints. It keeps us independent, really. So I don't necessarily love working out. I'm not one of those guys who gets a high from the gym or anything, but I love being able to do the things that I want to do. And mostly that involves staying healthy to the point where I don't have any issues at all passing my semi-annual, is it biannual? No, it's semi-annual FAA medical aviation exam. So that's what's important to me right now. And being in a healthier state than I was 3 or 4 years ago has really made that much easier thing to show up for. So anyways, twice a week, body weight stuff, bands, whatever, just enough to keep the engine running. Finally, nutrition. And this is where I think there's a lot of information out there in internet land, and it can be overwhelming. And I think a lot of people can overcomplicate it. So I don't count macros and I don't have a meal plan. I just try to eat like an adult. Protein at every meal, some vegetables, minimize processed stuff entirely. So that's it. That's really the game. I try to avoid bread and pasta and white rice. I try to minimize the simple carbohydrates, that kind of thing. A lot of fish, meat, chicken, eggs, cheese, and some vegetables. So that's really it. And here's my test. So if my great grandfather wouldn't recognize it as food, I probably shouldn't eat it. Chicken, yes. A sugar infused protein bar or protein shake with 40 ingredients I can't pronounce, probably not. Vegetables, yes. Vegetable chips fried in seed oil, nice try, but no. So look, I'm not perfect at this. I like pizza, I like beer. Not giving those up, but I've just reduced the intake there and really tried to supplement it with whole foods and healthier stuff. Most of the time, I really do try to eat the real food, and I can tell a difference in my energy, in my weight, of course, and in my mood overall. And the brain fog really has disappeared to a large extent, and my joints feel 1,000% better than they did 3 years ago. So recovery and stress management is the next one. I used to skip this one, and it really cost me. You can sleep well, you can move well, you can eat well, but if your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, you're still breaking down. Chronic stress drives inflammation, which is horrible for us. It disrupts sleep. It makes us irritable and disconnected. So here's what I found works for me: breath work, walking in nature, time with people I actually like, sunlight, getting 10 minutes of direct sunlight into the eyes, not looking directly at the sun, of course, but just getting that vitamin D and that sunlight infusion. It's what we were really designed to do by nature, to rejuvenate and to reduce inflammation. And this is the big one, purpose. So when I have something meaningful to work on, my nervous system calms down. It's not just surviving, it's building, and I'm building. It's like having a mission for us guys that is important to us, something that's meaningful, some kind of a mission, some kind of a purpose when we're in our 50s and 60s, regardless of our professional situation, is really, really critical to us at men. So, I used to think this concept of stress management was soft, like real men don't need to meditate or pray or contemplate or think or whatever you use to reduce the amount of stress or perceived stress that you have in your body and in your brain. And then I realized, though, that real men also don't need to die early from a heart attack because they couldn't figure out how to calm the hell down. So now I try to do breath work most mornings. I take walks without my phone. As a matter of fact, I will not take it without my phone, but I'll leave my phone off and in my pocket for the first 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of the walk. And I personally, as a Christian, I use that time to pray and to contemplate and to try to connect with God. And that little slice of time that I spend in that mindset makes a huge, huge difference. So, I also try to spend time with people who fill my tank instead of draining it, and it all helps. So this is why this matters. Health isn't just about living longer. It's about having the energy and capacity to do the things that matter. I can't mentor, teach, guide, lead if I'm exhausted. I can't contribute if my brain is foggy. We've already talked about that. I'm a mess if I've got brain fog and if I'm overtired and underslept. I can't connect if I'm irritable and checked out. And health is the platform. Everything else that we do, everything else is built on it. Nothing else really matters a whole lot if we're not healthy and in the game 100%. But health without purpose, that's just maintenance, and it's not enough. So, all right. So pillar 2, meaningful contribution and purpose. And here's the question that I've been wrestling with over the past couple of years, sort of what am I actually building toward? Not what am I maintaining, not what am I managing, it's what am I building? Because here's what I've noticed happening to me. And maybe you've noticed this too. Somewhere in my 50s, I shifted from building to protecting. I was protecting my position, my income, my routine, my comfort. In protection mode, man, it's a slow fade. The research is clear. People with a strong sense of purpose live longer, recover faster, and handle stress better. But purpose isn't something you find. It's really something that we build. And for guys like us, purpose comes from contribution, from passing something on, from mattering. Psychologists call this the generativity drive. It's hardwired. It's not optional for us. And when it's not met, we feel it. We feel restless, the sense that there's something missing. The question that keeps showing up is this it? So I felt this. I'd spent decades building businesses, working in big corporate environments, working in small startup companies and technology and project management and sales operations and administrative roles, all kinds of different things where I was solving problems and really providing for my family through the process, which is the point of all of that, right? And then one day I looked up and thought, okay, I've done all this. Now what? Not in a depressed way or whatever, just what's next? So here's what I've been figuring out. And maybe this will help you figure out your own path or sort of where you are along your own path. So step one is what we call a wisdom inventory. I started really by asking myself, what problems have I solved over and over again? Sort of not the one-offs, the patterns, really, the problems that kept showing up in different contexts, different industries, different people, but the same underlying issue. For me, it was things like helping teams navigate conflict without blowing up, helping leaders make high stakes decisions with incomplete information, and maybe helping people pivot when the plan falls apart. The famous philosopher Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the nose. So those problems showed up again and again, different companies, different scenarios, different people, but the same core issue. So I made a list, 10 problems that I've solved. And then I circled the top 3 that people actually ask me about or have asked me about in the past or came to me for advice on, that type of thing. That's my starting point. That's the wisdom that is in demand. Now, here's the thing. What seems so obvious to you and me is not obvious to other people. I used to think, well, everybody knows this stuff. No, they don't. You've forgotten more than most people will ever know, especially younger people. Step 2, document your process. So you don't need to write a book. You don't need to create a course. You just need to document how you solve the problem or how you accomplish the mission or whatever activity or activity set that entails. What do you look for first? What are the traps? What are the shortcuts? What's this proper sequence? And here's the format I use: problem, process, outcome. Problem: here's the situation I walked into. Process: here's what I did, step by step. Outcome: here's what happened. That's it. That's the template. You can record it as a voice memo. You can write it in a Google Doc. You can talk through it with an AI voice agent, which incidentally is something that we've developed and is almost ready for release. And we'll talk you through in a very natural conversation, a wisdom extraction and blueprint process. And it will organize all this information for you. Stay tuned. That's coming soon. But for right now, the format doesn't matter. The documentation does. Step 3, find your first student or first person or first mentee, whatever the situation is. You don't need 1,000 followers. You need one person who's stuck with a problem that you've already solved. Maybe you've solved it 100 times or 1,000 times. One younger colleague, a friend of a friend, somebody that you know or you get referred to or you suspect might have an issue that you can really, really help with. Maybe it's a guy in your network who's hitting a wall that you hit and passed over 10 years ago, let's say. So just reach out. Hey, if you're stuck on X, I've been there. I'd be happy to walk it with you. I'd be happy to talk it through with you. That's it. No pitch, no agenda. Just, I've got the map. Let me show you. Now, here's the part that took me a while to get comfortable with. Your wisdom, my wisdom, our wisdom has economic value. Not someday. Not if you just build a big audience and then it'll magically be economically viable. Right now, people will pay to skip the pain that you've already been through. They'll pay to avoid the mistakes you made. They'll pay for the judgment that you earned the hard way all along the way. You don't need to be an influencer. You don't need 1 million followers. You just need to be useful to the right 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. Let me give you an example. Let's say you spent 30 years in construction management. You've run jobs, you've managed subs, you've dealt with budgets, you've dealt with inspectors and weather delays and budget overruns and client changes, and you've solved the same problems 100 times. Now, there There's a younger project manager out there right now who's about to make a mistake that is going to cost him $50,000 and 6 months of pain and maybe even his job or his company. You can see it coming. You've been there. If you can help him avoid that mistake, what is that worth? $500, $1,000, $5,000? That's not just theory. That's a transaction. Your wisdom has value. The question is, are you packaging it in a way, and are you aware of it in a way that is actually useful? So step 4, build your delivery system. This is where the tech convergent matters. And this is really, really an exciting part of all it is we're going to be about here at the Graybeard Project and Graybeard Radio, and some of the things that we're going to be able to offer to you. Because in 2026, there are things available that weren't even available 6 to 12 months ago that make all of this possible, make it a reality for you in your individual situation. So you don't need a website, you don't need a funnel, you don't need 6 different tools that don't talk to each other that are all duct taped together. You need one integrated platform that handles everything: content, payment, delivery, communication, contracts, invoices, all of the GPTs and the chat agents that are required to support different aspects of whatever enterprise that you're building and you're running. It's all contained in one platform, and there are several different platforms now: Kajabi, School, Circle, Teachable. They do all of this in one place. My platform of choice, and it's because it is so sophisticated and so integrated, and there's so much capability that is built in that is generations and versions beyond what's available out there right now. And that's the scaleplus.gg platform. And everything that I am building with this project, I'm doing it inside of that platform. The AI capabilities are fantastic. It's integrated. It talks to each other. There's so much of it that's been automated, and it's elegant and simple and streamlined, and it has everything that we need in order to build out whatever it is that we're going to build out. And I'm going to be offering that capability to you as well, and that's upcoming in the next few months. So they do all of it in one place. You record your process, you upload it, you set a price, you share the link. That's one avenue you can take. That's it, though, really. That's the system. And if you don't want to record or write, you use an AI voice agent to help pull it out of your head. We were talking about that wisdom extraction experience where we have a guide, and then we put you in touch with an AI voice agent that's available 24/7, 365. You have a conversation, a natural conversation with that AI voice agent, and you go through a wisdom extraction guide. You'll have a reference document that you'll go through that conversation along with that AI voice agent with, and you'll be amazed at the information it pulls out of your head that you didn't even know that you knew. You talk, it organizes, you review, and you publish. So the barriers are really gone. Barriers that were up until just 6 months ago are now gone. And here's why this matters to me, and maybe it matters to you too. So purpose isn't passive. It's active, it's contribution, it's action oriented. When I teach, when I mentor, when I document my wisdom and share it, I'm not just helping someone else, I'm building the thing that makes this phase of life worth living, along with other important things, of course. But I'm mattering, and I'm passing something on, I'm leaving a mark, and I'm helping other people most of all, and I'm generating impact and income at the same time. And here's the bonus. When you're doing all of this, you're also building the third pillar. All right, so pillar 3, connection, social relationships, social connection. And I'm going to start with something uncomfortable. A lot of us are really lonelier than we admit. I know I certainly was up to a certain point in time. I know that I am, or that I was, and I spent decades building professional relationships, useful relationships, productive relationships, but not always deep relationships. they were more transactional in many respects, and that's different from deep connection. So, it was necessary, though. At least that's what I tell myself. I was the provider, the problem solver, the guy who shows up and gets it done. And somewhere along the way, I traded this depth of connection for productivity and transactional connections. Here's the data, and it's brutal. 15% of men in our age cohort report having no close friends. No close friends. Not enough friends, like zero, nada. And the health cost is real. Social isolation increases mortality risk by 29% by some accounts. That's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, or the Harvard study of adult development. 80 years of data found that quality of your relationships at 50 predicts your health at 80. Not your income, not your cholesterol, your relationships. So I felt this. I spent years as the lone rider, the guy out there running things solo, just marching to my own drum, producing, certainly, providing, certainly, solving problems, certainly, but not always connecting or connecting in the right way. And when the phone got quiet and the invites dried up, I kind of felt the distance. I miss the brotherhood, the kind of friendship where you can say the hard things, the other guy gets it, and where you don't have to perform or pretend. And I abhor that whole scenario out there many times in the professional world where we sit around and it's all this humble bragging and it's all performative. I remember back when, and I mentioned this in episode 1, on the ship, in the squadron, the helicopter squadron that I was a part of, we were a tight group of guys in that ready room. All the guys that I flew with, there was 2 of us in a crew, and then 2 pilots in a crew, and then we had two airmen in the back that were SAR swimmers and ASW experts, and we were all tight, and it was really a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Circumstances weren't always great, being out to sea for weeks and months on end, but it was really a truly remarkable, magical experience. And I'm still very close to many of the folks that I was with back in my day in the Navy. So here's what I've been figuring out, and maybe this will help you too. So step 1, shift from networking to mentoring. So as we talked about, networking is transactional. It's what can you do for me? What can I do for you? Let's stay in touch. Let's have lunch, blah, blah, whatever. Mentoring, on the other hand, is relational. It's, I've been where you are. Let me walk with you and let me dig into what's going on with you right now. Let me see if I can help because I think I can. That's a far more powerful connection than the transactional relationships of typical corporate and business building networking. Because you're investing, you're really showing up and you're mattering to that other person. And as a result, it reflects back on you and your own mindset and kind of how you your health and how you're looking at what you're doing in the world. It creates the kind of bond that sustains you. So here's what I did. I identified one person I could mentor this month, younger colleague, friend of mine, someone on my network who's hitting a wall I've already climbed. I reached out and I said, if you're stuck on X, I'd be happy to walk it with you. And I've been there and I know what you're going through. So no agenda, no pitch, just I've got the map. Let me show you. Okay, step 2, build your brotherhood. You need a group of guys who get it. And maybe you already have that group of guys, and God bless you if you already do. It's an important part of how we make our way through the next 2 or 3 decades of our life. And if you've got that, fantastic. A lot of us, including myself, we don't really have that and are in the process of building that now. These are guys that you want to get with who've been through it. We don't need the highlight reel, not a networking group, not a mastermind where everybody's doing this performative, humble bragging and boasting. It's a brotherhood, really, a place that you can say the hard thing and know that it stays in the room. So this is what we're building here at Graybeard, a forum where guys like us can plug in and share what's working and ask for help or seek help and maybe walk together. Or even if we're not asking for help, we're seeing other things that are helping us just by matter of showing up and participating. And you don't really have, though, to wait for us to launch it. You can start this now on your own. And here's how. Pick 3 to 5 guys you respect, guys who've done the work, guys who don't bullshit. Invite them to a monthly call or a quarterly meetup. If you can meet in person, great. If it has to be over a phone call or over a Zoom meeting, that's okay. Still can reap some of the benefits of doing this. So, and there's no agenda. It's just, hey, here, just updating people on kind of what's going on in your life. Here's what I'm working on. Here's where I'm stuck. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm thinking about doing next. That's it. That's the format. Very simple, very straightforward, no BS, just guys talking with other guys. And you don't need 100 friends. I mean, really prioritize depth over breadth. Just 3 to 5 good ones, good solid relationships, good solid connections with peers of yours. So that, and the research is clear. It's not the size of your network that matters. It's really the quality of your closest connections. So I audited my calendar and I figured out who I'm spending time with and what I'm spending my time doing. And are these connections, these people filling my tank or draining it? Are they challenging me or coasting with me? Are they people I actually want to be around or people I feel obligated to see? So I ended up cutting some people out, not in a mean way. I just stopped saying yes to the things that didn't fill my tank, really, And I started scheduling time with people who do. Not a quick coffee, but real time, a meal, a walk, a conversation where I'm not checking my phone, depth over breadth. So the next step, show up for the hard stuff. Real connection happens in the hard seasons, not the easy ones. When someone in your circle is going through it, that could be a health scare, a job loss, divorce, grief, or some other professional issue or problem, just show up. Not with advice, not necessarily with solutions, although those could be forthcoming. Just maybe I'm here, I see you, you're not alone, and when you're ready to talk more about it, I'm here. So I've really been on both sides of this. I've been the guy who needed someone to show up, and people have through. I've been very blessed. I have had people that showed up at the right time with the right information and the right message and the right connection. And I've also been the guy who showed up for other people. And I can tell you the relationships that matter most are the ones that are forged in fire. So here's what I do now. I think of one person in my circle who's going through a hard season, and I text them or I call them or show up. I don't try to fix it. I just try to be present. And that really involves stepping outside of my own little world and getting out of my head and getting outside to the extent that I can be available and present with the other person that's there and not focused on myself and my own issues, whatever those happen to be. This requires a little bit of compartmentalization on many cases, in many scenarios. So compartmentalization, of course, is the ability to kind of rest yourself away from the prevailing issues of the day or the prevailing problems you might have and focus on whatever the other issue is that you choose to focus on. It really is it's a choice. It's a decision that you make. I have to do this all the time in flying. If I've got a situation domestically at home where one of the kids is acting up or whatever, or having issues otherwise in my professional, personal life, I've got to really focus on compartmentalizing that into its own box so that I can 100% be present with the mission of flying an airplane safely from point A to point B. So anyways, here's why this pillar matters. Health gives you capacity, purpose gives you direction, connection gives you meaning. You can have health and purpose and still feel empty if you're doing it alone. But when you have all three, health, purpose, and meaningful connection all working together, That's when this phase of life becomes the chapter that you actually want to live. It becomes really interesting and, dare I say it, fun. So let's bring it all together. Here's how these three pillars kind of work together. So when you teach, when you mentor, when you document your wisdom, you're hitting all three at once. Health. So you're staying mentally sharp. You're building cognitive reserve. You're reducing stress because you have purpose. Purpose, you're contributing, you're mattering, you're passing something of value on to somebody else. And in connection, finally, you're building real connections, real relationships, depth, not breadth, not transactional, relational. One activity, three pillars. So here's what I'm working on this week, and maybe you'll want to try it too. So sleep window. Just pick one health lever. In this case, let's talk sleep. Daily walk, resistance training, or recovery practice. Pick one, schedule it, win at it. Small steps, one step at a time. 2, start your wisdom inventory. List 10 repeat issues or problems or scenario that you have addressed and successfully solved or addressed. So circle the top 3 that people ask you the most about. And number 3, reach out to one person. One person you can mentor, one person you can connect with, one person you can talk with, one person who needs maybe what you've already learned, some person that could benefit from the decades of crystallized intelligence that you've built up, hard-won crystallized intelligence that you've built up over the decades. So that's it. 3 moves, 1 week. Don't try to overhaul your whole life. I think by this stage in life, we understand what works and what doesn't in that department, just one step at a time. So in the next episode, I'm going to share my own story, the unconventional path, the pivots, the moments that seemed random at the time, but now I see how they built my crystallized intelligence and how they built me into the person that I am today. Because here's the thing, your path is absolutely just as unique as mine. And that uniqueness, that's not a bug, that's the feature. And after that, we'll start bringing in other guys who've been through it, guys who are figuring it out, guys who look like you and guys who don't, because this is a two-way channel. I'm not broadcasting to you, I'm building with you. And I really, really want to continue to have a very real, no BS conversation with you. So if this resonates, send me a message. It's Matt@graybeardguidance.com. Matt@graybeardguidance.com. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me where you're stuck. And also, if you would be so kind, it would mean the world to me if you would go and subscribe to this channel, subscribe to this podcast, wherever you're getting it from. You can go to graybeardradio.com, graybeardradio.com. That's gray with an A and not an E in the word gray. graybeardradio.com. You'll be able to provide your information there, get on the list, and make sure that you receive all of the updates that we have coming. We've got some really exciting things coming down the road that will be beneficial for all of us, I think. And that we're really custom designed for you in your individual situation right now. So if you're a late career professional or early retirement professional or a business owner or a blue collar or white collar, it doesn't matter. This is really the channel for you. This podcast is for you. And all of the things that we have forthcoming are going to be custom designed specifically for you and us in our age cohort. So finally, you're not past your prime. You're at the part where your wisdom finally counts. So let's use it. I'm Matt Hempel. This is Graybeard Radio. I'll see you in the next one.